Hello and welcome. Thank you to joining us. Thank you for joining us here this morning at presenting our low temperature, high efficiency, presented by myself, Anthony Tosi, and Rick Costa. We are with Wales Darby, and we'll have a nice topic here as we will go through some of these slides. I'm hoping for about an hour, maybe an hour, a little bit more, but today's topic is more of a topic than a training. So it's going to be really kind of diving down to just the title, lowering water temperature, achieving high efficiencies. So we have a lot of products out there that I think are mainstream or becoming, more the norm. I'm talking about wall-mounted boilers and such. And I think there are certain misunderstandings in how to make them as efficient as they were engineered to be. So we're going to go through a lot of little nooks and crannies of how do we achieve high efficiency. Certainly the biggest thing is having the confidence and understanding systems and lowering water temperature. Rick and I, we do quite a bit on social media. We have some fun with it. It's some personal, some business. We try and put out there as much as we can as we do on job sites, trainings, events, as we work with our vendors and our manufacturers, always kind of having our toes in the water and the latest and greatest. Rick and I sit in a department within Wales Darby, which is called Contractor Services. The picture you're seeing here is some of our manufacturers. That's really focused on the hydronic side. Some of it is the refrigerant side, but for the most part, we're talking newer technologies. We're getting more and more into heat pumps and using refrigerant. Water will always be our go-to. I think it has so much ability, flexibility and capabilities over maybe some of our newer products. So we will discuss maybe later as a couple of teasers at the end if you all hang in there. The picture in the middle, that's getting back to reality. What was always for my being in front of the people, and here's this other vehicle called a webinar, but that's our training room. That's in Islandia, New York. And we built that good dozen years ago, if not a little bit more. And I see the room looks quite different today than it did back then. But we are getting back to doing live presentations, and we hope to see you. If you have any requests or something yourselves, I'd like to know. I saw a bunch of names. Thank you for being here. But where you guys tuned in from? Are you local? Are you out of state? If you don't mind. We do have the ability to communicate back and forth. You can probably just, only hearing me. Rick is also able to kind of jump in when we have good questions. So please interact if there's something you want to know more about, or Rick is in behind the scenes. Okay, so he's there to answer any questions, and certainly he'll bring, if it's something relevant, certainly he'll bring it to the mic as well. So good morning, Rick, to you.
Good morning.
And you want to state at this point before we start launching?
I think that's it. Yeah, just we're going to be interactive behind the scenes. So throw those questions out there. We'll kind of answer them live. We'll have a couple points, I think, throughout the presentation to take some breaks and answer some of those good questions, as well as at the end.
Yeah, I'm someone who I like to always just interact. I want to know what you guys are doing. The live is really interesting. The webinar really changes the dynamics of how someone presents. So this stuff can get a little textbooky and a little, deep or whatever. People tell me, hey, you don't train reality. You go in the field and things are much different. Like, yes, I agree. I witnessed that. I've heard that. I witnessed it myself. The truth is, where do you want to be? Good, better, best, right? So if you never heard some of the information today that I'm telling you, it's because a lot of people don't understand it. And they want to keep it simple, and keep it simple is quick and easy, get in, get out. But I ask those deeper questions. Why are you installing high efficiency if it's not even producing more than, let's say, floor standing cast iron? So that's where we want to dive into a little bit deeper. All right, so we'll move forward. So Wales Darby, I always like to just put this up, promoting what we do, right? So as I stand here, and my name, who I work for, is Wales Darby. They're a manufacturer's rep, third generation, close to 50 years. 1974, I believe, is when they first became manufacturer's representative. We have two offices, one on Warren, New Jersey, and the other in Islandia, New York. And we cover quite a bit of territory. My territory previous was Montauk to Manhattan, and wish I was traveling and really kind of getting out there and what you do as an influencer, a designer, troubleshooter, whatever, just putting out fires. Rick is recently 4 years, just coming on board, close to 5 years, I believe now, with Wales Darby. And so we kind of divide and conquer. There's a lot of people between those 2 points. And then our Jerseyans, they take over some of the northern to downstate, Westchester. And I think we're located, I should put Philadelphia. Philadelphia is more of a landing spot. It's an office for us. We don't have a lot of feet on the street, so to speak. So bigger isn't always better. I thought this was kind of interesting, and it kind of hits home that, yeah, that's a true statement. Low temperature doesn't mean low BTUs, and we got to get more comfortable in understanding that. Own that. You want to be confident in saying lowering water temperature isn't a bad thing. Just like the dime is not a problem here. It's actually better than the nickel. It's smaller, yeah, but it's twice its value. So understanding what we're doing here, trying to achieve the high efficiency, installing high efficient equipment, but yet never really delivering that. So let's try and change that. So here's some baseline information. I like to kind of just, for those of you out there, I don't know where you came from, day 1, week 1, year 10, year 30, So the thought is trying to get everyone maybe a little bit more as a reminder. I was like, I forgot this or whatever. So this is kind of keeping it basic, right? So what is a BTU? So to me, it's a unit of measure. It's a measure of unit that's we're trying to deliver heat or cooling, right? So BTU is the amount of energy required to raise a temperature 1 pound of water at sea level 1 degree Fahrenheit. And this is where it all stems from. Understanding just the concept of a BTU. We're not delivering temperature, we're delivering BTUs. So understanding what we need to deliver is key, and that might take something more. So the BTU truly is representative of British thermal unit. That's what BTU stands for, okay? And then I thought, why not put a spin on it, right? As I try and do things differently. BTU to be, in my thought for this presentation, a better thermal unit, right? Meaning what we're doing with the appliance, what we're putting on the wall, marrying it with the system being the near boiler piping, the pump, whatever we have, and then going out to the house, the emitters. So there's 3 segments of what we're trying to achieve and then deliver the efficiencies, all right? So going with, being a little bit more than the norm, what we want for our installs, we want weather responsive. We do want it condensing, right? We want to size it properly. We do want to maintenance and service it annually, right? Anything that's high efficiency means high maintenance, sorry. Venting is a lost art. It's a trade that's been kind of watered down and just, it's the last thing on the plate to think about when I really think we need to put it in the front. What is the hardest part of an install? Typically venting, and then delivered efficiency, not just what it says, calibrating it, right? We want to use our combustion analyzers, all right? So doing the math, lowering water temperature, certainly more controls and comfort, weather responsive, outdoor sensors, really important stuff here. And I hear time and time again how they are not being installed, meaning just giving the boiler the strategy, right? There's a computer, there is a microprocessor that's going to play nice with the change of temperature, and it's going to drive that burner to only deliver what's needed based off of our information, right? And that's, I think, where the missing link is. We don't know how to derive or get that information. So here's a question for you, and this is where I'm asking you guys to step up and put some numbers up here. What is the lowest temperature water you have on a radiant job? Think about that. So if you're not comfortable with lowering water temperatures, why is it okay here? So what is the number? What do you know if you're setting up a radiant system? What is the lowest water temperature that you have installed on a radiant job? Or think about a snow melt. Have you ever had a snow melt application or opportunity, right? So
Got a couple popping in already. Got 98 degrees from
Love it.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah, 140.
Yeah, right. So think about what the norm is for where we're going to step off after this slide, right? I know where the slides are going, so I know just to kind of, this is a teaser, but get yourself to be confident in understanding lowering water temperature really isn't a bad thing. It's actually the best thing. We just got to confirm that we're keeping people comfortable, right? We don't want the complaints, right? I think we embellish to the point of CYA because we're so fearful, because we're not understanding. And if you need more, if you want to reach out to myself or Rick or anyone in New Jersey, or as far as the Wales Darby organization, man, this is what we do. We want to make people comfortable, right? And I can say this: the future is now, and lowering water temperature is a must. You're gonna see a change. I see it right now with some other products or some rebatable industry items that we have now, right? Heat pumps. And we have to confirm a selection based off of a load, meaning we will soon probably need to do the same for our boilers. If there's going to be some reason, a rebate, high dollar, back to the homeowner, they're going to insist this is what they want, right? They're educating themselves. Well, then we need to sharpen our little pencils and get in there and make sure we understand when doing a rebate, you need to prove the selection of the equipment and why. So lowering water temperature is going to help you do that. This is an old slide that I kind of built when I was doing a lot of the higher temp stuff, right? And I put down there just for this day or for this presentation, for illustration purposes only. So it was a visual. I wanted guys to have this visual as they were sitting in class. I used to hand out these little 50-cent protractors. And all the way down to the lower left corner, if you imagine, if it's a 0-degree day outside, that's why we need 180-degree water, right? So think about that. Why is it that we have 180 and only 180 all the time? That's the worst day of the heating season, that coldest night of winter. If it's a 0-degree night, that's when you need 180. But as it's warming up during the day, even if it's 25 out, sounds cold, but it's warmer than 0, do we still need to deliver 180-degree water? The answer is no. We're sizing our emitters, right? Baseboard, hydrocoils, radiant, panel rads, whatever it is that's in the home or as your choice of install. We're basing it off of a worse design condition, whether it be for heating in the winter and cooling in the summer. And if we achieve that pinnacle, that very point, then the rest of the season, we could be something less. So we have modulation. That's where the technology in the firmware and the software and these microprocessors that we're not even taking advantage of. Like I mentioned, people aren't even hooking up outdoor sensors, telling the machine that it isn't 0 out. So the thing is always firing 180 degrees regardless. Overheating can be an uncomfortable situation as well. So, I don't know what you plan on doing, taking your tin snips out and removing some fins off a baseboard or, whatever, but understanding lowering water temperature is where you want to be, right? So you can see the little note there, it's all about surface area, right? Surface area equals more BTUs. The more BTUs we can lowering water temperature as possible, right? So that's key. Looking at the protractor here on the left side going up, right? What is a water temperature required for a 40-degree day? Not 180. The house doesn't lose the BTUs as it does on the coldest night, right? Warm goes to cool. It will find its way out of the house, the structure. Now think about that. Are buildings differently, constructed now than they were 20 years ago, right? I would say 100%. Spray foam is now creating a 0 loss and a 0 gain almost approach, eliminating infrastructure, which really becomes a good portion next to windows of our heat loss or heat gains. So, look, 70 degrees is our indoor set point temperature, right? If that's what comfortable is for your customer on a winter's night, then understanding if we're delivering 180 degrees and it's 30 out, you have an oversized boiler, you have an oversized emitters, call it baseboard, let's say, complete around the house, you're going to have a really inefficient, noisy, cycling system. And it really can show its ugly face, especially on the efficiency side, costing very, high dollars for fuel just to run it on a lower temperature, outdoor temperature day. So anyway, here you go, surface area. I can't say it enough. If you have more surface area, you have more ability to lower water temperature. Bottom line, take advantage of doing this, taking advantage of 50 years of oversizing. If you're replacing an old to new boiler, get comfortable with understanding what the emitters are in every room. Taking a measurement of the actual elements themselves, not so much the length of the room and the pipe and all that, but just the fins or whatever it is you have in there. We have charts to show you exactly how many BTUs for every foot of every kind of piece of emitter out there. It's just given to us, whether we know it, see it, or don't understand it. That's what today is all about. All right. So again, surface area is key. Size of the fins, how many fins per foot, what size tubing, right? We're delivering BTUs. We're not delivering temperature, right? So again, based on manufacturer, the style, and BTUs per foot, and they have water temperatures. Different water temperatures will give us those delivered BTUs. Again, a little baseline information here as we talk about doing the math, right? Seems really scary and a waste of time, but it's everything you need to start with. Understanding exactly what is a BTU, right? British thermal unit. In my terms, better thermal unit, right? So universal hydronics formula is where it's at. GPM equals BTUH divided by delta T times 500, right? BTU, we understand, H, hourly rate, down the bottom. You can see the delta T times 500. Where is that 500 derived from? And that's using a medium of water, using the 60 minutes in an hour, and density of water and specific gravity of water is where we're starting at. Pure water, we do different things with other fluids like glycol. So 8.33 is the weight of a gallon of water, 60 minutes in an hour times 1 for the density of water where everything starts. Water starts at 1, and as we change the fluid, whatever it may be, it will derive off of 1. So 833 times 60 times 1, 4998. We round it up, keep things simple. Now the delta T, that is our design temperature difference. We have something making the hot water, it's leaving at a certain temperature, it's going out into the home or the building or whatever, and we're leaving the heat energy behind. And that's now the difference of the return water compared to the supply water. So we have systems, typically 10-degree delta T, and we have other systems which are 20-degree delta T. So we can figure out by this simple universal hydronic formula what size pipe we need to install to deliver the BTUs based off of our heat loads. We then can go back then to our circulators, and we can even have a better selection and making sure we are delivering to achieve somewhat of that, delta T that we're shooting for. Not always easy. We get close, but for the most part, this is where it all starts. Universal hydronics formula. Now, I did a heat loss, as we do. We have programs. If you're not involved, I tell you what, if you've never done a heat loss and you do your first one, and I would say do your own home, become a mad scientist in your own home, figure out what your rooms require, what the total house requires, then go back to the boiler and go, wow, what a difference. Trust the numbers. These programs, and even doing manually, there's about 30% extra in those numbers. So there's safety factors. It's not dead on, where you don't have those perfect moments of, delivering BTUs exactly to the number, right? We're getting close though, but to say we're grossly oversized, that's the norm today. We need to shrink that a little bit, get closer, start delivering more comfort than heat, right? So comfort and efficiency is where we want to get. So in this typical second story high ranch, you know, corner bedroom, 2 outside walls. It's 10 by 15, you know, 3 windows. We got an attic above. We got maybe a conditioned space below, some R19 in the walls, relatively a newer construction. If this home was here on Long Island, I picked Central Islip for a 15-degree design day. That's what we're shooting for. We need to know 97 point something percentage of the time, the coldest day of the winter won't be anything more than 15. It can get colder, but that's a high percentile that we should kind of shoot for. I think they've been taking these numbers since like the mid 60s or something. 4,000 BTUs is what this room requires on the coldest night of winter. If this same room was up in Concord, New Hampshire, their design day is 0. And you can see now the BTUs that were calculated for the same size room, same application, all the R values, was just under 5,300. Well, if that room has 15 feet of baseboard there, right? RB 750 3/4. How many BTUs do you think we are actually delivering? You know? Now, I took what I know to be true is that we're just maxing out 180, and I looked at the charts, and you can see that what I need is 4,000, and I'm delivering close to 9,000 BTUs. Now, I don't know if that kind of doesn't mean much to you, or, you know, what's the big deal anyway, but this is one room out of 10 rooms. So everything is grossly oversized. The boiler means it's probably grossly oversized. Everything about this system is bigger, and like I showed you earlier, the dime and the nickel, bigger isn't always better. We have the ability to really shrink things down, understanding what's needed and deliver it, getting close, not pinpoint, right? We're still a little bit of a shotgun. We're not a sniper yet, but we're getting there, you know? We're kind of locking in. We're getting our numbers tighter. As we get things smaller, that means equipment gets smaller. That means we become more competitive. Trust the numbers, own the number, do the math, all right? If you've never knew baseboard has a rating, everything has a rating. Boilers, baseboard, hydrocoils, fin tube, panel rads. I mean, all these things have charts telling you exactly the information that we need if we choose to look at it. So that bedroom's heat loss on a 15-degree day, 4,000 BTUs. There's that 15 foot of RB 750 3/4. Here's a chart, right? This is heat trim. This is a sterling product that we represent. It's been around for many, many years. Look at the chart there. It's an average hot water delivered, right? Hot water temperature. So at 180, every foot of element is 590 BTUs. Theirs are almost 8,900 BTUs for a room that only needs 4,000. We want to lower water temperature. Lowering water temperature, you'll see what we're talking about is getting us at higher efficiencies. Average water temperature now, okay, we're starting 180, but really the average around the whole system, if you want to kind of get a little closer, is roughly 170 degrees, right? We go out at 180, we come back at 160. There's our 20-degree delta T. So we split it, take the middle. Now look at the chart. It's not 590, it's 530 BTUs per lineal foot. So, okay, we got a little better. We're not at 8,900, we're at 8,000 now. We're still twice as many BTUs required for that bedroom. There is no control in that bedroom, right? Typically in a high ranch, the thermostat is where the center hall. So what is that thermostat doing? And that bedroom now is overheating. People are perhaps opening some windows, you know, so we're going in the opposite direction. Now, again, you have kids, you scream at them, close the refrigerator, what are you looking for? You know what you want, you know, like all the things I heard growing up in the 70s about how the cost of electric, well, do you think the cost of electric is getting cheaper or more expensive? So this is what your customers want. They're educating themselves, right? They're knowing more about what they want than we know how to even talk to them about. Look at 130 there. We need 4,000 BTUs with 30% fudge, right? That's the calculation, the program. I went as low as 130 average water temperature, delivering now 270 BTUs for every foot of that element, and I'm now delivering just over 4,000. I am pretty spot on that that room will still be maintaining comfort and 70 degrees on a 15-degree night. That's pretty damn good. Boiler's not short cycling, right? Think about a boiler. You know you sized it right on a design day when it doesn't turn off. It's actually the perfect size for the load, the house load, not individual rooms, unless you're zoning, micro zoning, everything. But this is what we're talking about, right? Lowering water temperature, still delivering the comfort, the BTU delivery, because we did the math, right? Now, surface area, be cautious because there are a lot of choices in baseboard. And you can pick the one that's easily, readily off the shelf. Your wholesaler moves a lot of the product, but you might want to do something a little bit different, or understanding aesthetics and space, right? That's a premium for some people. So how do you maximize what you have to work with? You have choices. Looking down a little bit, right above where it says how low can you go, it says RB500, RB750. Surface area, these different 500, 750, that's a 1/2 inch copper tube or a 3/4 inch copper tube. That's what those numbers represent, right? 50 to 52 fins per foot at 2 1/8 inch square. That's the surface area of every fin. In the 1/2 inch, you have 50 to 52. And if you're using standard, which is more common, the 3/4 inch tube, it's 50 to 52 again. So, you know, understanding when I click the slide here, what we have available are other brands, other models, right? Different water calculations. I think if we go back, it said 590, and I'm gonna use 180 because everyone's comfortable there. So 180 is 590. We go to this one, where's 180? This 4 GPM for the Petite 7 is now 600. So, you know, again, we're splitting hairs, but there are differences, and you have to understand that. Size, free air, all this stuff about baseboard. It's been around us forever. And I don't know if we really understand it completely. Now down below, slant fin, whatever, not to knock them, but their 180 at 4 GPM is, again, 580 BTUs. They did something interesting, and you notice one chart only goes as low as 150 degrees. The top one there, the Petite 7, 4 GPM, saying it can deliver 410. Does it mean it doesn't do anything less than 150? And if I go back a slide, this one goes all the way down to 120. So yeah, they didn't calculate it out to show us. But these guys down at the bottom, they got pretty smart back in the day when wall-mounted boilers started becoming maybe a little bit not, you know, maybe becoming the norm, I should say, right? Very early. Because why? They were known for their baseboard. They were known that baseboards to be high temperature, and they also sold boilers. So they wanted to make sure that because they wanted to sell boilers, it wasn't going to chop their legs out on their baseboard sales. So they made sure, right? Rating floor condensing boilers. And that's pretty smart. But look again, you can go as low as you want and still derive BTUs out of it. So interesting stuff here.
What's interesting too is that example was based off a 15 by 10 room, right?
Yeah.
And you use 15 feet of baseboard. So if you go back those 2 slides to that room again, reality is you're probably going to see 25 feet of baseboard.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, very typical that I would go wall to wall, all perimeter heat.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So now take that number. If I have 10 and 15, that's 25 times 590.
13,000 BTUs.
Yeah, you don't understand what we're delivering. You know, it's really starts to add up. And again, that's one room. I'm using the number 10 rooms in the house, right? That means everything about that system is grossly oversized. And we are not delivering comfort. We are delivering heat, uncomfortable heat. People are opening windows. What do you do when they start complaining, right? Have you ever had someone complain it's too hot, right? So I get joked around with the tin snips, but the truth is, do the math, understand how to lower water temperature. You will deliver more efficiency and also more comfort. Now I'm gonna say this now because that question kind of stems something, is lowering water temperature does have a plateau for certain pieces of equipment, meaning cast iron. Cast iron is not a condensing piece of equipment. Can we make it condense? Absolutely. But do we want it? No. We will kill it, we'll short life it, and we want to make sure we have longevity as we know cast iron to be. So 140 is that flat line lowest, I would say, you ever want to go. All right, we will talk more about lowering water temperature to condense, and that's going to be something a little less than 140. All right, so yeah. Again, have any questions? Map out your own home, measure elements, you know, look at your own space if you have the opportunity, because man, when you become a believer and you hear the system and you know, you have a mild day, like maybe last night, this past couple of days on Long Island's been a little chilly with winds and stuff like that. We had some snow north of us, crazy to say, but you would hear your boiler turn on, turn off. You know, that's an indication it's way oversized. Or how come it's short cycling and it's a condensing piece of equipment? Did you install the outdoor reset, the sensor? You know, did you make it a resettable piece of equipment? That was engineered, right? So yeah, can you lower water temperature and still heat the space? 100% you can, all day long. Just to kind of kill a little bit of understanding fin tube, right? So close to 600 BTUs at 150 degree water. You know, this is again maximizing your square footage availability and now still delivering some high BTUs, right? So again, these are based off of a 3 1/4 inch square fin. We were at 2 1/8, now we're 3 1/4. So how do we, and this is only 51 fins now. So again, understanding surface area is key. Surface area is everything when it comes to delivering our BTUs, right? Not all fin tubes are created equally. So be aware there are differences. Not all things are what it seems. Get a little deeper into the specifications. Now, this is another product. It is a hydro coil, right? We're still delivering hot water. This mounts on the wall, comes in 2 different sizes. This is called a thermal quiet. I mean, this is unique. This is now giving people a choice, a difference of what's normally, okay, everyone does baseboard. Well, in my home, I just don't like the look. I grew up with it, tick, 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 all the noise and, you know, the heat itself. What can you do different for me, right? So they have the ability to deliver 3,000 to almost 14,400 BTUs or 14,300 BTUs, right? This is pretty wild. This is, you know, a hydro coil, meaning it has a modulating fan, air circulation, a boost feature. Some of the specifications here, I mean, 140 on the smaller model, you know, we're delivering almost 3,600 BTUs with 140 degree water. You want to jump up to the bigger model? I mean, I think I have the dimensions here somewhere, but even on the low, medium, or high, the boost there, the medium at 120 degree. Now, this is entering water temperature, by the way. You know, be cautious to the charts as to the average water temperature, leaving water temperature, or entering water temperature. So know where you're playing in that choosing of emitters. Looking at the charts, just taking all the details, devils in the details, as I say, right? So these potentially can replace up to 25 feet of traditional baseboard. The space doesn't allow baseboard. The client doesn't want the look of baseboard. What do you give them? Can you do radiant? You know, is that an option? Well, they're not going to destroy the house, redo floors. So what can we do? These are pieces of equipment that have been around us, maybe not mainstream, because why? It's unknown. It's just kind of like the hidden little gems that we can be selling, changing what you do as a business person and differentiate yourself from your competitors. This is cool stuff right here. But look at some of the outputs I highlighted in blue, you know, the different sizes. 140 gets us to the 4,000 easy. 130 has a lot of options there for that 4,000, again, looking at 3 GPM. So be aware. This is quiet, thermoquiet. Again, another Mesh Tech product that we represent. And here's the beloved little panel rad. I don't know how you guys are feeling. If who's actually anyone out there done panel rads at all? You know, what are your thoughts on them? I think they're great. You know, they come in a lot of colors. You know, as long as you like white. They come in different sizes as far as profile. So I took the one that's 2 7/8 just to kind of give you, that's what what they call a type 21S, and there's the other one, type 22. Again, it's just more surface area, right? So it's getting bigger, it's getting wider, more water content, more water to surface content, therefore we have more BTUs. But streamline, very kind of, new looking. People want different things. They don't want baseboard. This potentially can be a solution, and we do have something to offer you guys. Again, BTU ranging, as low as, call it 1,500 to upwards of 18,300 BTUs, depending on what one you purchase, right? Because there are different dimensions. Surface area. Surface areas gets us BTUs. We have the chart showing all of our different water temperatures that we need to deliver to get the BTUs out of it. Remember, that one bedroom, we need 4,000 BTUs on a 15-degree night. So we do have choices to be made here. Now, this is one type, 21. I think there's 22, and they get bigger and taller and longer. So you can see that dimensional height and length, they do get a little wide, right? So 19 under 20 inches, but they go out to 39, 55, 70, so it's going to be a piece of furniture, so to speak. So just be aware, the look is what they're going for. They don't mind. I'm sure that people even painted these things to make it seem like a piece of art, but people get creative, as we say. But that lowering water temperature still achieves what we want, high efficiency. Condensing is where we got to get to. Look to the far right, a cool little ad there is an equivalent baseboard at 180 degrees, right? So if you kind of want to have a quick chart, like, well, I play in 180, yeah, lowering water temperature is great and all that, who cares? But just to say that this thing, the one item there can replace 9, 13, 16, typical. So there's our bedroom, 16 foot. We can do it with something that's 20 by 70 inches, right? So, we're not taking up all of the floor. We're taking up a portion of it, but not all of it. So, again, understanding your options that are out there. So here we go, right? This seems to be no issue with why we're comfortable with lowering water temperature. I guess because we learned radiant to be that, right? Think about what a radiant floor is. The whole surface of the floor, how much surface area is there, becomes our panel, right? Lowering water temperature, more surface area. That's why we can deliver the BTUs required per foot. Every square foot of that panel, the flooring, has to achieve our design temperature, right? So what's the fluid temperature you needed for radiant or even snowmelt jobs? Think about a snowmelt. Think about snowmelt. What temperature do we require for a snowmelt application, right? And how do we achieve our objective, the goal, heating Mother Nature almost, and still having snow removal, having no snow, formulate. We're melting it before it even lands, right? So if we can understand lowering water temperature in this case, why can't we do it in baseboard? Why can't we do it in hydrocoils? Why can't we do it in any other emitter that we have available to us, right? It's our comfort level. We've never done it before that way. Now we need to see to change that. The capability is there, doing some great things, again, achieving high efficiencies. Our equipment, right? So what do you think about, what are you installing as far as a boiler these days, You want to tell Rick, you guys install, whatever brand and what is the efficiency? What's the label say on the side of that appliance? Not even a boiler, right? What does it say on there? What can you achieve, right? Doesn't mean it's out of the box 90 plus whatever. So just know the differences. Look familiar? It's hot water, cold water. This is a hydro mini split, hydronic high wall, right? Look at some of the outputs on this thing. This is now entering water temperature, right? The chart right there, entering water temperature. Sorry. All right, let's put my little laser on it. So entering water temperature. We need 4,000 BTUs. We can have a system delivered water temperature of 120, and we can pick between these 3 different models here. I like this a lot. This is a product came out of SpacePak a few years back. And man, we had some major issues with storms and flooding, and I live on the South Shore, close to the bay, and when we got a tidal surge or whatever, think about all those homes with baseboard. Now it's good for business when it goes underwater, I guess, right? But imagine if you're on home or, raising our equipment off the ground, right? The look of this has become the norm because of other mini splits using refrigerant. Well, now we have something we can use water, right? Zone it. Every one of these has a remote control, talk to an end switch, talk to a zone valve. We can operate rooms independent. It's pretty cool to see something like this in our arsenal, if you want to look at it that way. This is cooling and heating. Imagine now, well, I never do cooling. Well, maybe you can in the very near future, and we're gonna show you how we can do that. All right, we have some neat stuff. There's a little bit of a teaser right now, but if we can understand why lowering water temperature at this point, doing the math, doing a heat loss, sizing our emitters for the worst, coldest night of the winter and hottest day of the summer, this could be an option for us. If you don't like it up high, we have the thin wall. This is like a console, almost like an old, let's say, convector, or maybe it is a convector. But again, different sizes, different surface area, different outputs. Really achieving some great low temperature, high output BTUs. Knowing what is required, again, good stuff here. So the sticker, let's talk about the sticker. What does the sticker on the side of your boiler represent? Does that mean as soon as you hook it up, you achieve your goal if you have no water on the floor? Like, yay, we did a great thing here. We don't have any leaks. We have all the parts and pieces in all the right spots, but we still don't know what we're delivering, right? Because we're not installing outdoor sensors. We're maxing out our aquastats or whatever the delivered water temperature is, because we don't know anything different than high temperature, 180, maybe even higher. That 97, that yellow sticker there, is an achievable AFUE, right? Annual fuel utilization efficiency. We have the capability with the engineered modulation, our burner, condensing, right? Condensing, collapsing our flue product from a vapor back to a liquid, all right? Now that might be something like, wow, how do you do that? And we're going to talk about that. An AFUE is a number, like auto industries giving you MPG, right? Now, I don't know, there's a lot of fugazi stuff in testing and how manufacturers derive their information. It's not so much stacked against us, but there are some truths that maybe aren't given. And MPG, I think, is one of those things. I hear funny stories like, they make these amazing statements of, this car can get 100 miles per gallon, and basically in the testing, it was going downhill. There was no interior. Basically the car weighed a third of what it does when you pick it off the showroom floor. But so there are these things that we should understand a little bit more deeper if we're selling high efficiency, right? We're selling something, but you got to back it up and deliver it, because the meter over there will prove you wrong. And homeowners are getting pretty smart, and they've probably been looking at their average bills, and now they're going to take some hard-earned dollars and they're going to hire you because you said you're a high efficiency expert. Now, there's a lot going into making a system, right? But we need to get a little better in understanding how to make and deliver the high efficiencies in those percentiles higher than cast iron, at least, okay? So condensing piping, right? Boiler piping. This is starting now to build after we already derived. I know what I need for the rooms. I know what I need for the whole home. And now I'm going to start from the boiler out. I make a selection. I have the boiler now. Now I need to set it up. It's unique. It's not the average, what we've done over for 100 years of boilers, right? It's unique because it's a primary, secondary piping, with the low loss header or something that's going to be decoupling the boiler from the system. We need dedicated circulators, internal and external. This is to make sure that we're flowing the proper GPM across that heat exchanger, right? Not to go off on a high limit. We must have a fixed speed circulator, and that's for the heat exchanger and the boiler. It is guaranteed we are going to deliver a minimum flow of this based on the manufacturer and the model. System piping can be still the moose antlers, as you see, upper right corner there, or we can do something closely spaced tees. You're now building that, right? We have to have an understanding of what that is with when working with a condensing boiler. Hydraulic separation allows boiler system components to get the flow they need when they need it without compromising the other performance, right? So the boiler is kind of separated from the system, and we do that with this hydraulic separation, all right? So decoupling or separation can be done with achieving something. You can build it or you can buy it. So time restraints, money, you put it into the job, speed, I'm on another job, making more money, or yes, you can build it. There's a lot of talent out there. There are guys that are pre-building and walking in a panel and mounting on the wall, and the boiler then goes on and you do a couple connections. The beloved press fitting is now in our world, so speed is around us again. Accuracy, talent pool, yeah, we need to get better. We need more young people coming into our industry. So what do we need? We need appliances. Think about this. You build your boilers like it's the first boiler ever built every time you install one. You buy all the components, you know where they gotta go, you have to connect them, you have to keep the water in the pipe, and then vent it, right? So there's that other side of it too. We're not even talking about venting, but that's a lost art. That's a talent in itself, and making sure we get that right. That becomes a life safety part of what we're doing here. We're in the comfort and life safety business when we're talking about installing boilers here, right? What's the distance? On closely spaced tees, right? This is typical. This is out of one of our manufacturers' installation, and they talk about primary, secondary loop. All closely spaced tees shall be within 4 pipe diameters center to center. That's what we're showing you there with the, the illustration of your knuckles. Measure. What is your measurement? Right? If you put your knuckles and take a little bit. Mine was 6 inches, so I kind of know, hey, if I could walk into a job, I go, wow, something looks really real. Just put my thumbs up. I go, yeah. Why are you 10 inches apart? We're no longer seeing that decoupling. We might have issues with delivery, or why the boiler is going off on some safeties or whatever. So not proper flow in and out of the boiler. Water slows down, we're going to go off on a safety, high limit, right? We're going to stack temperatures in that heat exchanger, and we're going to protect it. It's going to shut down. Now, the other side, everyone always focus on centers. The understanding of the pipe coming into your first tee needs to be 6 pipe diameters of straight pipe before and also leaving. And that, again, is part of what we do with decoupling our boiler from our heating system. All right. Now, this word or the term primary, secondary, it's been around for a long, long time. So Bell and Gossett, give them credit for what they've done for our industry. I mean, they've been educators and leaders and really in engineering, so it started in these larger mass boilers, boiler plants in these big buildings, and then look where we are today, some 54. So where are we now? Like 70 years later almost. So it's now residential. It takes a little while to get down to us, but it's always been something. The idea is allowing the boiler to have its own performance, meaning flow rate versus what the system performance or flow rates requirements are, whether it be zoned or just one large loop going around a warehouse or whatever it was. So, it holds true. Closely spaced tees, again, you can build it or you can buy it. Just know what on centers are. No more than 4 pipe diameters on center, and entering and leaving pipe should be roughly that 6 pipe diameters before and after. All right, condensing, hydronic systems, right? I thought this was interesting. I played with this term, condensing hydronic systems, right? What influences the rate of condensation? So I kind of lost what I was, so we always focus on the boiler. Boilers being, it's a condensing boiler, it's a condensing boiler. Okay, is the system though allowing the boiler to condense, right? That's the difference. We can hang something on the wall and we can have a leak-free system and think we're a hero, but did we actually have, did we construct or build this condensing hydronic system, right? Again, sizing, selection, water temperature, yeah. Now we're lowering and getting what? Flue gas, right? The dew point, that's what we need to achieve. When we can collapse our flue product, leaving that condensing boiler from a vapor back to a liquid, that's when we achieve high efficiency, right? Read the instructions, right? Every manufacturer gives you the information. We just need to find it and understand it a little better. Using the tools like a combustion analyzer, we have the ability to do what? Dial in our combustion, right? When we dial in our combustion and we set our gas valve and we achieve certain CO2s by lowering water temperature, that's when we're going to achieve those high efficiency. This chart, if I can kind of show you really quickly, on the left is a manufacturer's specification, what they're asking us to do with our combustion analyzer. The one in the middle here, it kind of shows you our CO2 and volume, right? So the thresholds are from 8 to 10. Now it says here we want to see max 9.2 and minimum of 8.9. So it's relatively close, right? So if we play nice within this chart and we go up, if we set it, let's say for 9, a 9 is our threshold, right? For whether it be minimum or maximum. If we go up with delivering now, or I'm sorry, return water now, right, back from the system, our 20-degree split, even if we went out at, let's say 150, because it's a system that needs a little bit of a higher water temperature on maybe a 10-degree night, not a 15 now, right? So we go out at 150, we come back at 130. You'll see that's where our dew point is. We start condensing sooner, even at that 130 return. If we were to change our 9 to something less, lower CO2, right? Then we don't start condensing until we go lower even, 122. So understanding that difference of gap here is time and energy wasted, right? We want to condense as soon as we can. So understanding what the CO2 represents in setting up the calibration of our gas valve, that combustion, air, fuel, and a spark, right? That's what we did. What the 3 components we need for combustion, right? So it's all about CO2 when it comes to opportunities for flue gas and condensing, collapsing our vapor back to a liquid, all right, using a combustion analyzer. Looking at the manufacturer specs, everyone is different. Now we can set everything the same for every single manufacturer, but if you never look, there might be differences and you might just want to make yourself aware of that. All right. Again, lower the CO2, less condensation means less efficiency. It takes longer, and now we're not achieving everything we can do by understanding that CO2 platform or the thresholds from low to high, right? Please use a calibrated combustion analyzer too. It's a tool, it's an instrument, right? It tells us a lot about what's happening inside our flue gases. And now we can actually have the ability to, 1, set it up, document it, print it, and leave it with the homeowner. This is a liability thing as far as you guys and what you do at the time of leaving your job sites. Annual inspection, annual maintenance, always get your analyzers on there to confirm. That I can just look, visual stuff is gone. It's no longer acceptable. I can see the color, I see the form, I can see the length. I'm talking about flame here. Get your combustion analyzers on there. This is a life safety portion of what we do. All right. So air fuel mixture, again, perfect combustion. There is this scenario, maybe in a laboratory, maybe with controlling every aspect of oxygen and fuel, right? Because why? The delivery of what we get coming in our homes, whether it be natural, propane, or even the fuel, the number 2 oil, if you're using oil, right? There is different, I guess to say, I don't know the word I'm looking for, heat capacity or heat quantity. There are differences in what makes up natural gas coming from, let's say, Texas or whatever, through the pipeline. What's actually being delivered in a truck to whether it be propane or fuel oil, So the perfect scenario of parts per million of air to fuel for natural gas, propane, yeah, it is achievable. It's called stoichiometric, right? So there's another guy who kind of came up with this whole process of, learning how do we get perfect combustion. And it really plays well with maximizing our CO2. The problem is if we max everything out, you see, we were looking for 9 before. The perfect combustion is 11, almost 12 here. And, yeah, it's achievable, but it's not reality. We want to have some flexibility. When we have not that little buffer, then we can soot, we can, really start fouling up our burners and stuff like that. So we put a little bit of a buffer in there, and that's why we step away from having perfect conditions, right? It's very hard to achieve, but it is conceivable, So what boilers do you guys install? Is there a brand that you guys like? Is it more prevalent to where you guys are? I don't know if you guys are on the East Coast, north of us, south of us, out west, not doing boilers at all. So the horse we ride here at Wales Darby is called NTI. It's a great product, great service, great people, right? I always say at Wales Darby, we're not commodity people, we're service people, right? We're systems people, rather. So, and that's part of it, is service, right? Customer service, what we do for our partners, right? You guys become part of every day what we do. We talk to many of you guys multiple times a week, just to say hello, put out fires, concept, hey, I got a job, whatever it comes to. We work well, right? Condensing boilers is nothing new. They've gotten better though. Like the thought was we started somewhere, had some bumps in the road, maybe some setbacks, and then, people always have their own thoughts on it and how it isn't good and what it doesn't do, it's too much, it's too this, too that. So my spin on a condensing boiler, it's a high BTU, low volume, high efficiency, flow sensitive, modulating heat engine, right? So think about what I just said there. There's a lot of engineering going into that box. And we just hook it up and think water and gas and vent, and we don't have to do anything more, right? And we leave a lot of stuff hanging that's readily, easy to achieve. And that is maybe what the sticker said, 90%, 95%, high 80% at least, right? So the materials in here, yeah, it becomes costly. Stainless steel, the engineering, supply and demand. But the heat exchangers here are something that's engineered and designed to withstand corrosive, untreated condensate. The pH, that lowering water temperature, collapsing our flue gases from a vapor back to a liquid. Now that is an acidic or an acid that we're washing over our heat exchanger, right? So because of this heat exchanger, we're now able to achieve maybe some energy dollars, keeping the energy dollars in the home and not leaving up the stack or leaving out our venting, right? Reclaiming of condensate and the heat energy that would be lost, right? We don't want to lose it. We're paying for the technology. We need to now set up our condensing systems, right? So not condensing boilers, condensing systems, all the other parts that make this thing do what it was designed to do. A little bit more look to what the specifications are here. A lot of specifications today. Again, everything that we touch, everything we install, there's something about it. I'm sure if you read the specification, you will learn just the simplest thing about it that you never thought before. One of the things I like to talk about is what we can achieve. High efficiency, right? AFUE. We're talking of 95, right? And see where it says outdoor sensor, and I highlighted that. That's the first step to making everything you do more high efficient, making sure you install and set up the controller. Outdoor reset, right? I would say we give up boilers. It has its own personal Al Roker. Now, if you don't know who Al Roker is, he's a national weatherman or whatever. Maybe it's the other guy, Cantel. Who's the guy in weather? Cantori, yeah, that guy's always in the wind somewhere, getting blown around. But imagine that. Anything we've done up until now had no idea what the outdoor temperature was and did nothing more than a light switch approach. 0 off, on at 100. That's it. For decades, right? And we became that's the norm. Why should we change it? The other stuff sucks, you know, this, that, yeah, I don't understand it. I don't want complaining to homeowners. Well, we're gonna change that. We're gonna change that quite a bit. Now, I don't know if anyone can read the specs up there, but why is the one product, the smallest of the units, a point higher in percentage? Everything's 95 except for our smaller one there, the FTDN 085. Anybody have an understanding why that's possible? I mean, it's only 1 point. What's the big deal? But why? You want a cookie? The truth is, yeah, that the heat exchanger in the 85 is the same that's in the 110. All right, I win. There you go. You get a cookie. Here's a snack. Here you go. God bless America. All right. Like I say, NTI it is a great product. They've done some really cool things. We got some onboard Wi-Fi and on internal ECM pumps now. Green way to go, right? And that heat exchanger is really kind of built to last with maintenance. Okay. There is no such thing as maintenance-free heat exchangers. So you have a revenue stream built into what we're installing. So that's another question I ask. Are you guys servicing what you install? You know, you want to plug that in. I'd like to know what's the percentage. One, are you doing outdoor sensors, and are you servicing what you install?
That's some great questions.
Now, looking at some of the output here, and I don't want to go too crazy here, but that FTDN 085, it says it's an 85,000, right? And it says 8.5. I don't know if the decimal point comes out clear on the screen, but that's a 10-to-1 turn down. That's the beauty of outdoor sensor, right? I only need to deliver for the worst day of the winter, or worst night of the winter. And as that temperature gets warmer out, I'm seeing the change in temperature. So now I can shift based off of the reset ratio. Now my burner can change. The blower RPM is what is pulling the gas through the gas valve, right? And that's how we fire it off. So everything is based off of performance of outdoor reset. And this is really important to what we want to achieve, right? That is a cool little picture, and this has been around. This is nothing new. And I stole this, like all my slides, we steal from everybody. I don't care. You talk about rights and all that stuff. So 8,080 BTUs. Looking at this picture, and you kind of see the glow behind and water droplets or some kind of moisture. Well, that's a heat exchanger. That's what you want to achieve every day, every firing cycle if possible on any wall-mounted condensing piece of equipment, right? 8,080 BTUs. Anyone know what that represents? $8,100 BTUs. Why is that a magic number, and why do we care? Right? Well, the value of condensate in BTUs, that's what that 80,080 BTUs is. If a pound of 212 water changing state, again, changing from a vapor to a liquid, sounds like our flue products wanting to leave the space, right? It contains 970 BTUs of latent heat. Just that 212 vapor to 212 liquid, it gives off that BTUs. That liquid is running back down and washing across our heat exchanger, right? There it is. That's what we want to achieve, lowering water temperature. Again, a gallon of water, 8.33 pounds, right? Pounds, 1 gallon of water. times 970 equals at 8,080 BTUs. If you could honestly collect your condensate and you can measure how much reclaimed condensate after, collapsing vapor to a liquid, you can derive to a BTU that you've reclaimed, you didn't lose, you put back into the system, right? Using less fuel to heat the space, because this is what we're all engineered around. The little upper right diagram is showing you from 32 to 212 now, right? Before we vaporize, right? 212 liquid, 212 vapor, or steam, I guess, right? Vapor to a liquid. When we change that state from vapor back to a liquid, that's when it releases the 970 BTUs. That 970 now goes back into the corrosive resistant stainless steel heat exchanger. Right there. That's what it does. A lot going on here, right? Condensing boiler is designed to take advantage of the latent energy available in the exhaust flue gases, allowing the temperature of the return water to go below 130. The moisture is able to condense, again, vapor to a liquid. That's the starting point. 130 is the starting point. But look at our efficiency line here. If I show you on right here's 130, roughly 130. Go to the left, where let's call it 87% efficient, steady state efficiency. The boiler is steady state running 87% with return water from the system at 130. We don't start achieving what the label states until we literally have almost 80-degree water returning. So these charts are, there's hope. I mean, wow. I mean, to say we want to go from 180 now to 100-degree supply water with a 20-degree split, and now having 80-degree water returning. Again, I asked the question about the radiant. What's the lowest water temperature maybe you've ever supplied radiant to, right? But it wasn't the boiler being set for that water temperature. You probably had a mixing valve, right? So now we're asking the appliance, the boiler, to have that water temperature, lowering water temperature off of the burner itself, the heat exchanger, the system, right? Think about our homes. Zero loss, zero gain to some degree. Spray foam, better construction, net zero. They're out there. They're getting more popular, even further north than where we are here, in New York or Long Island for sure, But this is, wow, this is a game changer, eye opener, not realizing, man, we sit in such a non-condensing world, even with a 20-degree split. If we can achieve that 20-degree split, here's 180, non-condensing, right? Here we go. I don't even know if we achieve 83% efficient. We're probably even lower. Because why? Our pumping, our delta T's are far off from 20-degree splits, maybe 6-degree splits, right? So we do everything bigger is better in our world. Well, we're trying to change that. Bigger isn't always better. The dime versus the nickel. All right, it's a make or break moment here. This is when you're installing and designing and actually achieving what you're selling, right? Reclaiming close to 8,100 BTUs, every gallon of condensate you can pull back out of a vapor to a liquid. So a lot to do with getting it right, and making high efficiency. Again, sizing the load and emitters to the space, right? We do a heat loss. Primary, secondary, heat exchanger flow rate, fixed speed circulators, understanding the equipment of choice, what the manufacturer specifies, setting of gas pressures are high and low, calculating or calibrating with a combustion analyzer. Again, maximizing, collapsing the CO2, lowering water temperature, 130 or lower, right? That's key. 130 is the threshold to start I'm happy if you do that. Yeah, we've gained some points in efficiency, but I think we can do better if we just start to gather the information, start believing, like I say, start in your own homes. Take inventory, as I say. Take a little bit of a survey of what your home's heat loads are, room by room, zone by zone, whole house. Go back to a boiler, understanding, all right, my boiler does both heating and domestic. I have homes on the east end of Long Island, they're basically like hotels, right? Before COVID, they were very a seasonal residential home. Some of these homes have 15, 17 bathrooms in it, and it's all about domestic hot water. And they use large indirect storage tanks off of large BTU boilers. I compare the home's heat loss and the domestic load. I mean, that's why the boiler is so big. But control strategy knows when it's a domestic call versus a heating call. And that's why the outdoor sensors there and other things of that nature. So I know I can set the water temperature for my heating versus my domestic. Domestic becomes priority, high fire, go, 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 400, 600 BTUs to 300 gallons of storage is waiting for somebody to wash their hands. You know, I mean, it gets some kind of craziness like that, but that's reality and where we live, right? So getting comfortable with just lowering water temperature is that stepping off point. And I hope we can all kind of see that a little different today, right? Using combustion analyzer, you have to get involved. It's great that you have one. Take it out of the box. Start using it. Start understanding it. You know, again, lower water temperature, please. So yeah, is lowering water temperature in your future comfort and efficiency is possible, right? We have to get comfortable with just knowing that. The safety is understanding. And then, do you want to be a leader or do you want to be a follower? Because I think there's a lot of followers out there. There's not enough leaders, and we're trying to change that direction. The view is different when you're a leader than it is as a follower, by the way, right? And then I ask you, are you ready? Because the next step is what? Lowering water temperature, right? We already bought into that. I get it now. I see the path. We can do this, but now we're going to change. We're going to shift air to water. We're talking about heat pumps, right? We're talking about electric devices, right? Think about an electric water heater right now. What is the efficiency on any electric water heater? That's a question, if you want to put that in the answer box. I appreciate a little bit of feedback as I. Well, the answer is kind of there. It's 100 plus efficiency. An electric air to water heat pump.
Yep. Yeah, keep there, 100%.
Think about an electric water heater. What are we missing? Flue. There's no exhaust. So where's the waste? Where is the byproduct of our combustion? We need to make sure it leaves. We're barely achieving the efficiencies of what the yellow label says for condensing wall products, let alone cast iron, which is now an atmospheric vent versus some kind of fan assist, right? Think about an electric water heater. The concept is, man, energy in, heat out, 100%, no loss. Maybe thermal, just because of standby, right? Insulation of the tank and things of that nature. This picture is kind of showing you where we're stepping off. We've been doing this for about 10 plus years now. Again, SpacePak has been doing something unique. They've been taking their lumps, they've been learning a lot, and now they're like on second or third generation of products. Some of the emitters that I showed you earlier, there's a high wall, right? Imagine having that high wall. This is a heating and cooling piece of equipment, emitter. This is a low wall one. Again, we have a manifold, we have a buffer tank. There is no boiler. You can have one if you need one. There's also radiant here. This is our appliance, our heat engine. This is called a heat pump. Some people call it chillers, maybe down south because it's mostly a cooling environment, but up north, we call them a heat pump. Now, a heat pump is a refrigerant, sealed refrigerant electrified, piece of equipment. 100+ efficiency. That's crazy. Now, I don't know if you guys know what SpacePak is, but they've been known for what it is up here in the attic. They've been known for a delivery of high velocity using aspiration. Here's an air handler, typical, return air, supply air, some things we need to know about it. But we can do a hydro air handler, right? Hydrocoil air handler to that heat pump there, the chiller, if you want to say, and then we can do both heating and cooling and cover upstairs, all around, radiant, low temperature again. Here's a picture of some of the latest and greatest from them, and perfect match for low temperature space heating in any climate, right? Air to water heat pumps. The two flanking outer ones are SIS, right? SIS?
SIM.
Oh, SIM rather. Yeah, SIM. They're a monoblock, I believe. And the one in the middle is a split, and that's the SIS. So the outdoor unit is where it's a sealed refrigerant, R410A, pumping and piping, maybe with some antifreeze, of course. But low temperature, again, as we do what we just did for the last how many minutes, is achieving understanding how to lower water temperature for our emitters. It's pretty cool stuff, right? This is a nice little chart showing you the sweet spot of our 120, 130. And here we have all the abilities in which, even if we had to raise it up a little bit higher, right, we have a lot of performance in lowering water temperatures, right? Underfloor, if you're a big radiant guy, I mean, this is something we need to keep our eyes on. ATW, air to water heat pumps, efficiently provide low water temperature needed for space heating. It's great. It's good stuff. Here's the SIM, right? Inverter. What is it? No field refrigerant. You're not putting any refrigerant in the homes, right? 5-year parts, 10-year compressor. That's what our SpacePak certified installers, registering our equipment, what we do. I mean, this thing can be, I don't know, hundreds of feet away from the home, right? We can build a trench or dig a trench. We can put some insulated pipe, let's call it Uponor, EcoFlex or something. We can have this behind a barn, behind the garage, somewhere out in the meadow if you wanted to, just away from the house. Some people aesthetically, they don't want to see things. So this is a perfect scenario. With water, we can have longer distance, more control, less loss, right? So here's some of the specifications for the SIM 036. And just show you max heating capacities. And some of these numbers are a little skewed, so just got to look a little deeper as to 38,755 BTUs. That's a good portion of most people's homes, right? So we have the max and the minimum, and we're talking about hertz, and that's the RPMs or RPSs of our compressor, how slow or how fast the compressor is running. We represent Fujitsu. We do a lot of inverter technology with R410A piece of heat pumps. This is that similar componentry, but using air to water, not air source. So neat stuff here. And to show you the next size, the big brother of the 36 is a 60. And now look at the ability to achieve some high BTUs, lowering water temperatures again. All right. A lot of this should look very similar, pretty comfortable. What we do in the mechanical room, the only thing is, where's the boiler? Well, it's outside. It's outside in the yard, right? We have this buffer tank. The only thing that heat pump is concerned about is maintaining that tank's temperature. That becomes the battery. That almost becomes the source for what we do inside. As long as that outdoor unit is pumping BTUs, regardless of the water temperature, we're going to satisfy that tank. And as we get a call, all things come to life and we deliver comfort. This is the SIS. This was this was an ad, changing of the guard, so to speak. We thought, hey man, this is going to be the next greatest thing to sliced bread, because why? The refrigerant is completely isolated with no water going outside, but the refrigerant now can get so cold that we're concerned about that indoor unit. What you're seeing there in the middle here, that's acting as the heat exchanger inside. We have a line set that goes from the indoor to outdoor. Again, showing you -20, extreme low ambient heating. Well, I asked the question, what are we delivering at -20 degrees, So there are some deeper dives into some of the spec sheets that we need based off of our design, our loads, right? But 21,000 to 71,000, 2.5 to 5.2 tons of cooling. This is a heater as well, so it is a heat pump as well. All right, no glycol. It says no water, no glycol mixture outside. Doesn't mean we don't need it inside though, because again, that refrigerant gets pretty cold. We have water to refrigerant inside, and there could be some potential or some concerns for low glycol percentages. I don't know, 10% maybe. Not a lot, just something, because we are somewhat ambient inside, but the refrigerant can be maybe something to be concerned about, air to refrigerant. Oop, let me back up here. So if you should feel I'm not comfortable yet, I just want to have, we can add to an existing system, or we can build backup, a boiler. Well, how do we do domestic, right? We do have multiple piping schematics to share with you guys. I mean, this is SpacePak, so they're not like, untouchable. They have a great website, great resources. They have, what's it called? The services, sales?
Well, they don't see that. They see the technical library on the website.
Yeah, but if I need to reach out to SpacePak, could they have people behind the scenes that we can do sizing?
Pre-sale support.
Thank you. Pre-sale support. That's the name I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
Good people up there, friendly people too. But here it is. That line is showing you the outdoor to indoor. Again, separating with about 35 feet of line set. That seems to be our one thing that we're fixed to, right? Our indoor heat exchanger to our outdoor heat exchanger. Refrigerant going from outdoor to indoor, and then our water takes over. If we needed to, we could do a boiler backup. We can do multiple things. We can do a large storage tanks. It's just endless in the opportunities in which we can do, and lowering, again, water temperatures. I mean, this picture says it all. It says a lot. It says nothing about Wales Darby, but the picture itself, man, I would feel pretty comfortable walking in this room and I go, wow, what boiler is this? That's not a boiler at all. That's the indoor unit for our heat pump. And that's where we do our refrigerant to water exchange, right? Really, really hot gases or really, really cold for cooling or heating. And then we're just doing pumping and piping. Universal hydronics formula, GPM equals BTUH times delta T times 500, and all things take over. It becomes a very comfortable scenario to build out from once we understand what our loads are, right? Great shot here showing you both indoor and outdoor. You do not have to touch the refrigerant. It's sealed, it's done. Once it's in, it's in. Unless you pierce something and you hear a leak, then we'll discuss that. But for the most part, the packaged approach is here now. Like I said earlier, you build every boiler like it's the first boiler ever built. You buy all the components, you have to place them in certain spots, you have to have the space in which to build it and the talent in which to understand it. There's more backstory to some of these pictures, but not for today. We can discuss. We're actually doing, was it May 31st?
That's in-house. Yep.
May 31st?
May 31st.
Yeah, if you're local, Wales Darby, we host, like I showed you our room at Islandia, we're going to do a SpacePak heat pump hydronics section. We just did a factory certified training for both the DX and the hydronic side of SpacePak.
And we got the webinars coming up in June.
Oh yeah, right. So we have webinars, and we'll do a live in May 31st at our facility. So if you're flying in New York and you want to write it off, you can tell your account you went to a training at Wales Darby. Come on down, just let us know. So here's a teaser. Now, we talked about electric and being 100% plus, right? COPs and things of that nature. These are acronyms we should know about. But here's a company relatively new to Wales Darby, and I kind of like these guys. They're interesting people. They've been doing this for a while, since 1974. They're as old as Wales Darby. You see the number here, right? So Electro Industries out of Minnesota, right? Monticello, Minnesota. And these guys are pretty cool what they do. They build all their own controls, right? There's smart people that are saying we're electric, and mostly outside of New York, electric's achievable as a source, meaning cost, kilowatts. Man, up until about a year and a half ago, I was like, no way, electric's so costly here, and it will never, blah, blah, blah. Why would you ever? Think about those people who have electric baseboards, and I have radiant in my house, and wow, I feel bad for those guys, right? But year and a half worth of webinars, and all of a sudden I started seeing applications and a reason, and I'm like, that makes sense, and really started to click as to why now I'm talking about this like every chance I can. The electro boiler, right? 100% efficient modulation, no flue, no primary, secondary. I mean, these things go from minis all the way up to 1 million BTUs. So 1 kW equals 3,412 BTUs. 1 unit of electric energy, kilowatt, is 3,412 BTUs. This thing could be piggybacked into an existing boiler, an add-on, a remote building. I mean, like, it's endless in thinking of the opportunities that this just makes sense, right? You got to stop thinking electric. At least I know I did. Electric was you can't. No, you can. Anything talking low temperature now. We just discussed a lot of things that we can do with low temperature, understanding our heat loss, our achievable comfort level of what we need to deliver, right? This thing is like an old school cast iron. No primary, secondary, pipe in, pipe out, no flue. Think about the areas in which this could be installed to achieve some hard to reach add-ons. They just want radiant. They want to do something unique. They added a whole other wing. Do we do another boiler? Do we take out the boiler that's only 7 years old and we put in a bigger boiler? How about this? Leave what's there, add a boiler to it. In line. Supply out, through the electric, out the electric. There's no pressure drop through the vessel, right? It's literally like a water heater, very wide open, right? Very cool stuff we can achieve here. Check out their website. I put it up there, electromnforminnesota.com. Really neat stuff, I gotta say. And electric boiler is one of the things that I focused on in addition to others that they're offering. And this is, a lot of things change when you leave the East Coast as far as the home, the way it's heated, the way it's cooled, the energies they use, how they use, and banking, and like really neat stuff. I mean, it's not necessarily here, but there is a term, strategic electrification. Yet to know what that means in your industry if you're local, right? Local Law 97 is something that's around us and really starting to put some ripples in the pond or the pool. Think about simplicity. Now, this is a really raw slide. I just did it like an hour ago. This is a packaged boiler. Everything that you build and buy is now in the box. How simple would this be? 4 connections. It's an appliance now. Now, I don't know the last time you ever had to build a dishwasher or a refrigerator, but basically, why do they make their equipment packaged, right? Because it's got to be easy to install. It's got to be repeatable. Think about what this can do for your business, right? A packaged boiler. Really, really cool stuff. 17,000 to 68.2. That is a good chunk of most people's heat loads if we understand how to do a sizing program, all right? Everything is in there. The pressure vessels, ASME. We have our heating elements, pressure temperature gauge, like, sensors, auto reset, outdoor sensor, high, low reset there, relief valve, air elimination, expansion tank, circulator, isolation flanges, neat stuff. I don't know where we're sitting with time, but
9 a.m.
Oh, fantastic.
Doing good. Had some great conversation, a lot of application-based stuff, so.
Well, I just want to say thank you for listening, so I don't mean to interrupt, but good.
Yep. Yeah, I know a lot of people were asking about the recording itself. So if this is the first time you're on one of our webinars, you know, everything that we do, we record and we actually place on our HVAC Insiders website. So you have full access to that at any point. I believe we do have some stuff on our YouTube channel as well, Wales Darby. So take a look at that. But yeah, no, a lot of good questions, a lot of good conversation.
Yeah, I just think, man, it's so powerful to understand a little bit more every day about what we try and achieve, you know? And like I say, we're being so bombarded and thinking high efficiency, and, you know, I don't think we ever think about lowering water temperature to be the vehicle in which we can do that, you know? If you need anything, hey, and you mentioned something that was like, just reach out to us. You see the QR codes there, you can take a picture and that's our information. So, you know, I always say I appreciate if you want to text me, our phone numbers in there. Yeah. Yep. So our cell phones are in there, and I've been known to answer after hours and certainly on weekends if I know who's calling me. So text me your information. This is the way I roll, right? You got my information, you know where I work. You probably look me up and know more about me than I want you to know. But first name, last name, maybe who you work for, or even where you come from, what part of the country, and where we met. Basically, that's all I ask to be in a text message, and then you go on my phone. And as you call, and months from now, a year from now, I can kind of reference how many people I bump into and talk to on a daily basis. It becomes one big blurry face. So I appreciate your time this morning, and certainly I think tomorrow, oh no, I'm sorry, next week, I think it's the 27th, today being the 20th, and 7 days from now will be the 27th. That's probably good math there. But I think we're starting our 4-part series of advanced hydronics. So that'll be our counterparts in New Jersey. And next week, if you're not registered for, check out walesdarby.com and you'll see the training events and you can register there. And that's part 1 of 4 for hydronics, advanced hydronics. Yeah. All right. And then what do we have ourselves, do you recall? We're doing SpacePak, like I said, in-house.
SpacePak right afterwards, yeah.
Yep.
So after the 4 weeks, we'll be doing some, I believe we're going to do back-to-back weeks, the small duct high velocity, and then we'll go into the air to water the following week. Yeah. And then we'll have our in-person by then as well, or right before then. If
there's one thing, just to kind of looking at this slide as you guys are seeing it, this product line right here, this is going to be a huge opportunity. If you kind of take a picture or look up that name, it's an Italian manufacturer, right? If you know what PTACs are, this is going to be something you want to keep your eyes on, all right? Really neat stuff here. Anything else, guys? Please let us know. I appreciate your time.
We appreciate the kind words in the chat there.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll be reach out to us. I see there was some people had problems with the QR code. It depends on the screen. What I would recommend 2 and 2 is possibly taking a screenshot. If you have another device, you can scan it. I've done that before as well. All right, I'm going to say goodbye.
Have a great day.